And I'm going to go ahead and call the September 26, 2023 council meeting to order, and I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Ms. Walden,
Here.
Mr. Chambers,
Here.
Ms. Mapp,
Here.
Mr. Reynolds.
Here.
Okay. Dr. Lee,
Here.
Ms. Shinholster.
Here.
All right, we do have a quorum present. If you will, please stand with me for the prayer and pledge. Heavenly Father, we thank you on tonight for allowing us to come together to meet, to discuss the business of this city. We thank you right now, God, that we keep ourselves in the right perspective, that we can disagree to agree. We ask you right now that you touch each and every heart that will present here tonight. Touch each and every council member that has to hear what the people have to say. And then, Father, we just thank you for your continued blessings as you look over the bereaved families, the sick and shut in. We ask that you continue to be with our first responders, our teachers, our bus drivers, all that make up this community to keep us safe. It is these and many more blessings we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, so next up on our item for tonight is public comments. And the first people we'll be hearing from, or persons we will hear from, is Mr. David Sinclair with the Baldwin Investment Group. So Mr. Sinclair, if you will, come up to the podium and just state your name and address.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is David Sinclair, and my address is 156 Northwoods Drive, Milledgeville, Georgia. And I thank you for allowing me to take possession of the podium for a short 3 minutes. Purpose is to inform you all that my company, BIG, which is Baldwin Investment Group, have a contract that has been signed by both parties for the property at 105-117 South Wayne Street, and that's the property that's had the barrier around it for some time. We are anxious to move forward and make progress with taking possession. Right now there's a 45-day due diligence period, and I do understand that there is a lien placed on the property by the city, and I'm hoping that that can be resolved sooner rather than later. And my attorney is in contact with Mr. Jimmy Jordan here, and I'm looking forward to taking full possession of the property following the 45-day due diligence period to allow work to progress just as soon as possible. There is a two-phase approach. There is obviously demolition, stabilizing the facade, and then having our architect prepare plans for the future development of the property. And we're looking forward to be involved in another downtown development. And thank you for your time, and if there's any questions, I'll be pleased to answer them.
We normally don't ask questions on the public input, so thank you for coming and sharing with us tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, everybody.
We only had one to sign up for public comments tonight. So you all have received a copy. You all have received a copy of the September 12th council meeting minutes. Are there any corrections that need to be made to these minutes?
Hey, I think it dropped on my end. Something about Jamaica.
There being none, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved. Second.
September 12th minutes were adopted as official.
Call the roll.
Did I miss something?
Call the roll.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I need to call the roll. Let me settle down. Mr. Daniels, would you please call the roll, please?
Miss Walden,
Aye.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Miss Mapp,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster.
Aye.
All right, so the minutes have been properly adopted. At this time, before my mayor's comments, let me give my mayor's comment. Mr. Daniels, did you put that out for me?
Should be right up under your list of names.
So before we have our presentations on tonight, I have a few comments as far as the mayor's comments. One thing I want to give an input, and Mr. Griffin will help me out. We both attended a meeting about a week or two ago about the Central State Hospital Redevelopment Authority, the buildings that are going to be, or noted at this time, that will be demolished. And so we had, who was that, Commissioner
Commissioner Tanner.
Tanner, that came down from Atlanta to basically hear what we as leaders wanted to say and how we felt about going about having this demolition done and the different things we wanted to see. And in a roundabout nutshell, I think the basic thing is we all want to see that it's done properly and that it's done within the welfare and safety of the community. How they would do it, they went line by line and shared with us how it will be done. Right now, if I'm not mistaken, there's a stopgap right now, Mr. Griffin,
That's
that
correct.
we're not moving forward with it until Commissioner Tanner is able to take back what he learned from us as leaders, what we're concerned about in our community, and making sure that the welfare and safety of our community is adhered to. The other piece I want to bring before council tonight is that the county commissioners have already appointed their people for the Land Bank Authority. So we're kind of lagging. What I would like to see is a balanced board there. And my thinking is that we do some bankers, possibly real estate people, some lawyers, someone with the inside knowledge to help them to move forward and what they need to move forward to be able to make sure that any building that they tear down or we accept under the Land Bank Authority, that is proper use and how we use it and go about obtaining those particular land bank properties will be in place. Now, what I would like from you guys is to think of someone by next Tuesday. Let me know who you're thinking about as far as an appointment. I do have 4, maybe 5 people in mind, but I would like to hear from you all as to how you think or what you think we could put on that board that would be meaningful. One thing as the mayor I'm going to say, I really don't want to see one of us on it. I think it would be unfair for us as an entity to put one of our board members on it. We need people that's going to be open-minded to what they're doing and how they're doing it and be supportive of it as long as it's moving in the right direction. And then the other piece I want to mention is that the ad hoc committee about the statute, I'm going to try to go ahead and put that in place this week so that we can move that on along and find out the necessary information we need to be able to cover that. In discussing it with Mr. Jordan and Mr. Griffith and Mr. Chambers, we once put that ball in the place of the NAACP hands to find a place. I know a place has been determined, but that might not be the proper place. And as you all know, we got to have specifics when we move or if the statute is moved according to the guidelines of the law. So I will go ahead and put that in place this week. I got enough time to go ahead and reach out to people. If it's someone you want to see that might make a great contribution, I want it to be balanced on each side, where you're going to have some opposing people, you're going to have some people for it, and maybe a chairperson to keep the order there. And then we'll move forward from there as a council, if that's okay with council. Is that okay with everyone? Is that okay, Don? Okay, all right. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead. I have one presentation for tonight, and that's one proclamation and two organizational updates. Okay. So I'm going to come around, and I'm going to ask everyone that's here with the Gloria Walker Day proclamation, y'all will come around and stand up front outside of the podium, please.
Where the podium is.
Just around the podium.
She's coming around there to you.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying.
They were.
Yeah, right.
I apologize.
They gonna block council.
We're not visible. Yeah, take them. They need to be the one in the picture. Right, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. We're fine. We're fine. No, we're fine.
Y'all okay?
Yeah, we're fine.
All right, so this proclamation, actually, I missed the event. I missed the event. I had got me a pair of cowboy boots and some jeans, and I was ready, but I did. But unfortunately, I could not make it. But I think this is an outstanding proclamation that we're giving that this person was a born and raised person around here. She has a lot. If you ever look her up on or just Google her. And so let me read the proclamation so you can get the history of her, because she was born here in Milledgeville, Georgia. And it says, Proclamation of the Office of the Mayor of the City of Milledgeville, Georgia. Whereas Gloria Walker was born in Milledgeville, Georgia, and became a hometown icon, an entertainer that lit up this nation's airways and stages. And whereas Gloria Walker and a handful of her high school friends formed a musical group called Gloria Walker and the Chevelles in 1968, before my time. And whereas Gloria Walker and the Chevelles, armed with great musical talent, hard work, and big dreams, created a rhythm and blues and soul act that soared to nations' fame in the late 1960s, with their 1968 breakthrough hit, Talking About My Baby. Okay. And whereas highlights of their career included climbing the Billboard's charts, sprinting to the top of the R&B charts, and ultimately playing the world-famous Apollo Theater in New York City. And whereas Gloria Walker dazzled the world with her silky voice and ability to tell a soulful story through song. And whereas, even though, as many groups do, Gloria Walker and the Chevelles broke up, Gloria and the members of the Chevelles maintained a close relationship throughout the decades that followed. And whereas it is fitting to point the spotlight at a career that shined as brightly as the lights at the Apollo Theater, and on someone who is so positively reflected on her hometown of Milledgeville. Now, therefore, I, Mary Parham Copeland, as the mayor of the city of Milledgeville, do hereby proclaim, and that was Saturday, September the 16th, 2023, as Gloria Walker Day in the city of Milledgeville, and urge all citizens to learn about Gloria Walker and the Chevelles, to appreciate the contribution to music history and their addition to Milledgeville's rich patchwork of life. I have hereto set forth my hand and caused this seal to be affixed on this 16th day of September 2023. And it is signed by me, Mary Farm Copeland.
Nicole.
Girl, please. Look, I knew who you were born.
And Mayor, they're copies. They're copies
So
of
we have
all.
some copies, and we do have copies, so let me give them to, she'll give it to you. Thank you. Now, we have a few presentations, if they're present here tonight.
Housing authority's not present.
Okay. So I see Mr. Nelson. So I assume Mr. Nelson and of the Greenway Authority will be making a presentation tonight.
Are we good to go?
Yes, sir.
Well, first off, I appreciate the opportunity to share with y'all
Mr. Bo.
a little bit about our Greenway project and what we have accomplished recently, and give you some information about where we hope to go from here. As you may know, the Greenway Authority is overseen by a 9-member board. I'm currently serving as treasurer of that organization. My friend Bo Edwards is the vice chairman, and Bill Caldwell, the president of GMC, is currently serving as president of the chairman of the Greenway Authority. A few moments of background just to catch us up to speed. More than 20 years ago, there were some local visionaries with far more vision than I ever had that envisioned a riverfront park along the Oconee River in Milledgeville, and it was sort of spearheaded by what was going on in Macon at the time. The establishment of the Okmulgee Heritage Trail was getting a lot of buzz. There was a lot of press and a lot of enthusiasm about that, and some local leaders were quick to recognize, well, we've got this gem down here called the Oconee River that's nearly flowing through within a few blocks of downtown. You know, why don't we see, can't we acquire some funding and develop a riverfront park and a trail system down here? So that's sort of how that got started. And with the help of $1 million transportation enhancement grant, I believe Jim Marshall was the U.S. representative at that time, was successful in getting that initial funding. And of course, with the cooperation of the city and the county, with some splost money as local match, began a project of developing the Greenway. And I can tell you that for me, it's been overwhelmingly successful. Bear with me a second. Let me put this off. And here most recently, we were about 2012, the Greenway Authority was successful in getting another transportation enhancement grant, a federal grant, for $1 million. And at that time, it was our focus, our objective was to extend the trail system south down the Oconee River eventually winding up terminating at Central State Hospital property. We had spoken with the redevelopment authority. They were on board and supportive of this, and there are only about 5 or 6 parcels of land that would have to be crossed in order to do that, but Mr. Edwards and I experienced some pushback from a particular landowner, and he didn't want to participate in that, even though we were projected to stay on the sewer easement all the way along this corridor. Anyway, that sort of threw a wrinkle in that. The grant had already been awarded to the Greenway Authority, but about this same time, Dr. Jim Lidstone, who was at that time a professor at Georgia College, he's since retired, moved away, but Dr. Lidstone had proposed a Fishing Creek community trail that would follow the Fishing Creek corridor up to Georgia College, and the master plan called for the trail extension all the way out to West Campus and eventually connecting with Walter B. Williams. And so our board was faced with somewhat of a dilemma at that time. We had already been awarded this grant, and we said, well, if we can get approval for a change of scope, we would apply this financial resource to the Fishing Creek Community Trail, and we will at least try to jumpstart that construction by getting the trail extended to Central Park, or many of us know that as Bonner Park. And so I can't tell you that it's been easy. There's been some bumps along the way that Mr. Griffith can well attest to, but we started on that process some years ago to extend the trail to Central Park. Little did we know that we were going to run into some engineering issues and some timing issues and some land acquisition issues. There were a lot of false starts, but we have completed that project just in this year, and since this transportation enhancement grant was a reimbursement grant, we were also, the Greenway Authority was faced with the dilemma of, well, how are we going to pay for this, because we've got to have money up front in order to pay the contractors and then apply for reimbursement. We thank y'all sincerely. The city stepped up. Well, actually, Mr. Edwards and I had years ago, we had actually talked to Mr. Jarrett when he was the city manager about helping with this, and we had laid the groundwork at that time, but of course, when Mr. Griffith became the city manager, previously as the city planner, he was on board with what we were planning on doing. And anyway, I'm here to say that with y'all's help, you know, the city stepped up and fronted the money for this project, and the county stepped up with SPLOST dollars, and I'm excited to tell you that the program manager in Atlanta says that we have covered all the bases. We have submitted everything that we needed to submit, and although they have not said the check's in the mail, they said the check is being prepared for mailing. So I reference an email to Mr. Griffith that I just got today from the program manager, who says, well, it's being reviewed by the local GDOT office. So, I mean, the level of bureaucracy has been, to say stunning would be an understatement, but nevertheless, you're going to get your money according to the program manager, and Mr. Griffith and I are both crossing our fingers. I want to take a moment. I'm going to try to use this laser and show you all what we have done and what we are hoping to do. The current project, if you'll follow along with me on this depiction here, I'm going to reference this section right here where the laser is. That's the Piggly Wiggly South parking lot right there. We have just completed 8/10 of a mile of paved walking trail that extends from Elbert Street right here, which is Georgia Highway 112, follows the Fishing Creek corridor around behind the Piggly Wiggly South, and then makes a northerly turn up Flag Chapel Lane, and it terminates on West Franklin Street at Flag Chapel Church. Having no idea how far our money was going to go, we did this project with a number of bid alternates, and we had enough money, barely, to to pave this, well, let me say this, in conjunction with a grant that the city supplied, this was a really complex problem because the city had grant money to apply to this project. The Greenway Authority had federal monies to apply to this project. We were trying to do it together in order to realize some economy of scale. It really was complex to manage, but with Mr. Griffith's help, we got it done. And I can't thank your paymaster, Shay, what is Shay's?
James.
Shay Danzy. She was a godsend, I'm telling you. But at any rate, we have finished that project, 0.83 miles from Elbert Street to West Franklin Street. Now, originally our plan had been to follow the Fishing Creek corridor all the way to Harrington Drive, but we ran into three huge impediments, not the least of which was money. We had to install a pedestrian bridge on this section that cost us about $80,000. It was a prefab bridge. It was made in Alabama and was brought over here and set in place. $80,000 chunk of bridge. We couldn't do that twice. The other significant issues were that the original proposal was going to direct the trail underneath Norfolk Southern Railway on West Franklin Street. We wasted about 6 months just trying to get to the appropriate Norfolk Southern individual, and we were then told that
Oh my gosh, that's all it took.
I know.
Damn
They
shame.
did
the
good.
railroad.
My grant application was up in about 2 months.
No.
Then we get a call from GDOT that says, your grant's about to expire. And I mean, we had people working 7 days a week on this project. We were so afraid that we were gonna lose the funding. But at any rate,
Let me mention too that Hank was the city planner at that point. It had to been for Hank's input on this and his guidance on this.
We were
I
just
don't
following
think
the
this trail
trail.
would have gotten made. So he really stepped up and hats off to him. It wouldn't have gotten done.
What we really wanted to share with you tonight, though, is what remains. If you'll notice this blue section and the green section there's about 0.56 miles of unpaved trail sort of in the middle of the Greenway project between the GMC project that's currently paved and what we just paved. We got 0.56 miles of unpaved trail. It is a usable graded trail now, and it's used every day by citizens and cadets and students, Georgia College students, GMC cadets, but the design and the objective all along was to see that section get paved. I'm pleased to report that the county has tasked a grant writer and an engineer. They're helping us as we speak to apply for 2 different grants, and we feel like we will have an excellent opportunity to obtain one or both of these grants. And the county has already approved our request for SPLOST funds to use as the local match for these grants. We think we've got a very, very, very good chance of getting these grants, and we will apply that towards the last 0.56 miles of trail. This is a no-brainer for us because this last remaining section, there are no easements to obtain. It's all on GMC property. We've already got an intergovernmental agreement with GMC. The trail's already there. It's already been surveyed. There's very, very little engineering to do. It's mostly a form and core project. We don't have any of the impediments that we experienced in the project that we just completed. Y'all really don't want to know, but when we turned this trail north to terminate at Flag Chapel, the first thing that we encountered was DNR's Office of Historic Preservation said, well, we'll look at that, but you can't build a trail this close to Memory Hill Cemetery. It's a historic cemetery. There may be unmarked graves. And we're like, we're outside the fence. They said, doesn't matter. They said there could be graves under the parking lot at Flag Chapel Church. And you don't know about that. So, another $15,000 to $20,000 for ground penetrating radar. when they finally permitted this trail, they said we will permit it with these conditions. You've got to have a staff archaeologist on site when any ground disturbing activities.
Oh, my
Contractor said,
word.
we're only going to disturb 4 inches. They said, doesn't matter. We got to have an archaeologist on site. I'm here to tell you though, we got it done. And I'm here to thank y'all for your help and support. One thing I wanted to mention, an elected official told me today that every community has a nugget. Every community has a gem. It's an unrealized or unrecognized gem. We think the Oconee River is that gem. I think it's the most underutilized recreational resource in the county. The Greenway, the Oconee River Greenway has opened that corridor to recreational use that heretofore was unprecedented. Now I learned just a few weeks ago, I was talking with Convention and Visitors Bureau, who has some data sets that I found fabulously interesting. The Oconee River Greenway is the second most visited spot in all of Baldwin County, and the average visitation in the last 3 years, 129,000 visits per year.
Oh.
For those of you that are not down there often, our big limitation right now is Place Park. We're in January, when the sun is shining, the parking lot will be completely full. And the thing that has been such a pleasure for us to see is it's all demographics that are there. They're grandparents with grandchildren, they're students from Georgia College, they're cadets from GMC. When I meet people down there, I enjoy chatting them up, particularly if there's people that are there visiting. I bumped into people that were from Milledgeville that have left and have come back and said, what a wonderful amenity this is. I never dreamed that something like this was capable. Well, Mr. Edwards and I remember when it was the city dump. When I was a child, it smoldered 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's where we dumped our trash and left it ablaze, but to see this having transformed into the amenity that it is now for our community. And I'll tell you, this has been nothing but a labor of love for a bunch of volunteers, and we're just here to say thank you and to let you know we're not finished. We're going ahead with this last half-a-mile section. I think we've got better than a 90% chance to see that done, and we'll go from there.
Let me mention too that we don't want to see this trail end at Flagship Road. I mean, it's just an ending, but the greater vision, of course, is to get to the Georgia College campus so kids in the campus can have access to the trail just like the people at GMC. But more important, like Mayor was saying, is to get to Bonner Park, get back to Fishing Creek, and then back out to Oak Hill, to all the schools, the high school, everything follows Fishing Creek. Right there, Bobcat there, which I'm meeting with President Collins on Friday. We're trying to now the county is working on a separate $3 million grant to help with that project. So that really will nail this as we finally be able to get out to the athletic complex. So keep your fingers crossed on that. We really that's the next phase. But Collins has really been great on. They're working on a $3 million grant to start that project. So we hope this is not.
Well, and
So far, it's been
we've
great.
got an active group of volunteers with the Greenway Foundation that help us with a lot of maintenance issues, a lot of the lightweight lifting. We have gotten done with volunteers, but we call on the city and we call on the county when we've got heavy lifting to do. Occasionally we'll have a huge tree that blows down.
Or flood.
There's always clean up after the flood. But we're here to say thank you for
We'll
the
never
support
have
of the
without
project.
city support.
And, if there are any questions, we'll be glad to tackle it.
Good job.
Thank you so
This is-
much.
Great job.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since the Housing Authority is not present tonight, Mr. Griffin, have they been rescheduled or they're not?
They have not yet
Okay.
come in.
All right, so at this particular time point, I'll recognize our city manager for his report.
All right, I wish Marion and Bo would have been here to hear me say this, but they thank the city, but I can assure you, if it hadn't been for those two, this would not have
Exactly
happened.
right.
Yeah.
Any of it.
We spent a lot of time when I was city planner in my office on the phone with DOT. We finally started getting some building done, and it's really nice down there. We've actually got to go down and mow the sewer easements now because it's gotten a little bit grown up, but it's a great amenity. You seldom will go down there, even if you enter the trail at Flag Chapel, that you don't run into people walking or biking or running. The day they had the ribbon cutting, three looked like college students came running down the trail and saw the ribbon cutting going on and turned around and went back, and we told them, "Yo, come on, perfect timing." But it's a nice area down there, and we're fortunate to have it. I just want to go over kind of quickly the things that are on the agenda for tonight, and then a couple of other items that are not items to be voted on, but I'd like your feedback on. First of all is ordinance O2309-12. That's the second reading of the ordinance that amends the progressive discipline policy that we have in the personnel policies and procedures. As I mentioned to you all in a report last week, there was one change recommended to where we would put the performance improvement plan in step 1, which is a counseling and coaching session, and delete step 2, which is where the performance improvement plan was located before. I talked with Ms. Witherspoon, and she and I felt like that was a good suggestion, and so that's what we have done. Obviously, this is the second read tonight, but we can make additional changes on the fly tonight if when you all start looking at the potential for voting for that, if we can have some more discussion on it if necessary. Resolution R2309-35 is the resolution pledging to practice and promote civility in the city of Milledgeville. Interestingly enough, of all the things that are on the agenda this week, the civility one is the one that I got a call from the media about. It's the only one I got a call from the media about, and the question was, are people not being civil? And I said, no. And I explained to the media representative that this was an initiative of the Georgia Municipal Association, sent them some information on it. Evidently, it was not an exciting enough news story because it never went any further than that. But we talked about this when Freddie Broom came to our meeting on August 8th, and just to remind you, there are 9 pillars of civility that's a part of the Embrace Civility program. And the civility pledge, it says the way we govern ourselves as often is important as the positions we take. Our collective decisions will be better when differing views have had the opportunity to be fully vetted and considered. All people have the right to be treated with respect, courtesy, and openness. We value all input, and we commit to conduct ourselves at all times with civility and courtesy to each other. So that is what the resolution that you have before you tonight, which is a model resolution from GMA, includes, and associated with that were the Be Kind buttons that you all had in your boxes from that Freddie left. I got a email from K Love from GMA this morning and said, I understand y'all are looking at the civility resolution tonight, and I said, yes, we are, and everybody has been given their Be Kind buttons. So most of you, I shared with you all just something that I found humorous when I got an email from actually a sales rep that the subject of the email was, do your workings with mayor and council caused you to have sleepless nights? And I shared with you all that was not the case, and that I'm fortunate in that because all of my colleagues around the state do not have that luxury, and I appreciate the fact that we do have discussions. It is done in a civil manner, and we will just be putting the stamp of the city of civility on that tonight when you pass that resolution. Resolution R 230936 is a resolution to authorize a renewal of an agreement with New Singler Wireless for, they call it the Meeks Road tank. It's actually the tank that's on Robertson Mill Road. This agreement was originally put in place in 2008 when Mayor Bentley was the mayor. And this is the third amendment to the agreement. And basically what this amendment does is extends the time limit on the agreement again for another 5 years, with the expectation that there will be 5 additional 5-year terms added to it, so that the contract ultimately goes through March 31st of 2049. The first agreement that was signed in 2008 was for $1,500 per month, and it is currently up to $4,400 per month. So we have nothing to do with that except for providing the water tank that they put it on. We are fortunate to be able to keep these on our tanks. More and more of the cellular companies are building their own towers. So it truly is passive income for the city that we have the opportunity to enjoy. Each 5-year renewal of that agreement, there'll be a 5% rent increase on the agreement. So we will continue to have that passive income from that. Resolution 2309-37 is authorizing the mayor to sign an agreement with Simonton Engineering. As I mentioned in a report to you all last week, we did a temporary channelization of traffic for Lakeview Primary and Midway Hills Primary Schools on Blandy Road, where everyone exiting those two schools are forced to turn right onto Blandy Road. It has worked wonderfully well according to the school system, and we're helping them get the engineering done to put that in permanently. This will be funded through some of the Red Speed camera revenue that has been generated, and that's one of the things that the state statute enables and actually requires, that safety for the school system be improved with some of those funds. So that's the way we're doing that. Those are the items that we have to vote on tonight. I do want to share with you and get any comments from you, for those of you that have them. We have been in talks with and discussions with and meetings with the school system since the April water issue about the potential for providing a redundant water supply for them in conjunction with the county. This was actually a conversation that was initially started by Commissioner Craig with the county, the county would allow for tying into their line on Highway 49 at Blandy Road into a line that the city has that follows Blandy Road, and then when it gets to ABC Drive, it would turn and go down ABC Drive all the way over to an area near the football field and near these, since they changed the names of the schools, I can't keep up with them, but that's Lakeview Academy over there. And there actually is an old line that follows the new line fairly closely, but it broke some years ago, even before these properties were built, and dirt was hauled in and put on top of it, and it is beneath the bus garage now, so that line cannot be repaired, so it would have to be installed for a new line. I have the school system has asked about the potential for us sharing in the cost of that with them. In addition to the financial commitment, I have some concerns with it setting a precedent for providing redundant water supply to some other areas in the city. So I would look forward to your comments on that I can take back to Dr. Price either tonight, or if you'd like to send me some comments by email or with phone calls, we can do that. But we've estimated that the project should come in not to exceed almost $351,000, and that's a lot of money out of our water and sewer budget. And like I said, it sets a precedent for providing redundant water supply to other entities in the city. So.
Can I give a little feedback?
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now? 'Cause
Please do.
I have strong concerns. I brought this just in case you all, well, with my tax things, it may be different from you all. And I have to be careful what I'm saying, because I work with the school system, but then I have to be fair about this whole thing too. The school system, I'm going to take this mask off so there won't be no misinterpretations. The school taxes are already getting 59.27%. I'm constantly hearing the older senior citizens saying, why am I paying school taxes when I don't have any children in school? That's the first thing. Then the second thing is that if we do this for the school, I love the children. I want everything to be the best for the children, but we have to think about the hospitals. We have to think about the prisons. We have to think about the merchants. You know, once we get started doing that, we have to think about the others also. The school system is a small portion of the pie. We need to look at the big picture. Okay, that's just how I feel.
I just want to add to what Dr. Lee said, because when I first read this, the first thing I thought about was the hospital. And I thought, you know, priority here. And nursing, you know, just thinking about all of those different people, like she said, senior citizens that have had to do without water. And I understand. I'm like Dr. Lee. I sympathize and I understand. But then I'm like Hank. I don't want to just say that we selected one customer above any other, and make that appear as if we're saying that at some point you're more important than this person. And I just think that we have to be really careful with making these types of decisions, to just look at the whole pie, like she said, not just a piece of it, but the entire pie, before we bite some of it off.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And our children are important.
Very.
People in the hospital that are sick are important as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to talk about it.
A couple of things that haven't been mentioned. One in particular is the fact that the county would be feeding it with extremely high pressure water.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have to put in pressure relief valves.
Yep.
And this system would have to be put into use periodically. We could not wait 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road or whatever when we had an outage to cut it on and hope that it was going to work, because it is coming in at such a high pressure. If that pressure relief valve fails, then we'll probably pop just about everything within that whole school system with, I don't even remember what the PSI was of the system coming in, but it was a couple of hundred.
Because it's coming off that Hopewell tank.
Yeah.
So it's coming out high.
So you know, there's some liability issues in there as well, and something that we certainly have to think about. But you know, what we as a city pledge is that we're going to do our best to have the best water and water system and sewage system that we can provide. And I think that's what we have indicated moving forward. We're having engineering done now as we speak. We want to get to that point of being able to upgrade our plant, upgrade our infrastructure. Some of our worst areas are already looked at. Some are already getting ready to be worked upon, and I think that's where our focus needs to be, and as well as our money,
We can use the money.
as the city's money.
Yep.
And not only that, but we've also bought equipment, purchased equipment to help us
Right.
to be able to deal with that. So we're doing everything that we should.
Committed
We're committed
to what we can do.
to not
Yep.
having those issues in the future. So I just think that, you know, we just can't look at just one system and say that, well, we need to make sure that you're okay when everybody else is suffering. So we just have to look at the whole thing.
I think everybody's echoing the same sentiments. Yes, Matt, did you want to?
We need to look at the bigger picture. Because within that area, you do have a hospital there. So
Yeah.
we can look at, prioritize what's most important.
I was reminded of something with Mr. Chambers' comments too. I've shared with you all, I think it was maybe 3 meetings ago, that we currently have two infrastructure projects that we've done engineering on, and we haven't had anybody bid on. I have been in touch with an organization called Gordian, which is actually the holder of the Department of Administrative Services contract with the state. They have total of about 26 contractors, about 8 in the Central Georgia area, that you contract with Gordian, and the Gordian then pulls those contractors in to do your work. And I had met with them one time, then Tim and Robert and I met with them a second time last week, and we are going to send them the scope of work on the Montgomery Street replacement project, and see what that looks like in terms of cost with them. And we may start using them to do some of our work. Because they are on the state contract list and have the DOAS contract, that actually takes the bidding process out of it.
Okay.
And they even have contractors who have engineers on staff that if you agree to contract with them, they actually come in and work out the scope of work without even having to pay additional for engineering. So I think there's some really positives there, and I think the Montgomery Street project would be a great one for us to test out with them, and I'll bring more information to you about that later on down the road. But I think, and obviously you all will have to approve the contract if that happens, but I'm excited about having the potential possibly to work with them. They have done some projects with Stockbridge, and I talked to Mayor Ford and their public works director, and they were very pleased with the company, and so we will continue to look at those. Just a couple of other quick things. Open enrollment information for those of you that need it was in your box when you got here. Actually, it was in all of you's box, but for those of you who need it, that information is on there. Open enrollment begins October 1. Sandra, is that right? And goes through October 30th. And if you have any questions, Sandra can help you with that. Oh, thank you. I was doing it from memory, and it was right there on my very next page in my stack. But Ms. Shenholster had mentioned about the possibility of sending a letter against federal House Resolution 3372, which was the pilot project dealing with heavier trucks on the road. I shared with you all last week that I would try to have a draft ready for us to discuss tonight. I do not have that ready because I'm still waiting on some information from Elizabeth Bolstad with the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks. But I will continue to work with her and get a draft of it together and send it to you all via email, and we'll make the changes that we need to and have it available for those of you that wish to sign at our October 8th meeting.
And just to speak on that, of course, I've been a part of that coalition for a while against that, and it did pass out of committee at the federal level a couple of weeks ago, and then I sent the information to Hank, because if we don't, and I was asking him to see if we can't send something to our delegation at the federal level. Because if it passes there, of course, you all know that at the state level, it was left in committee last session, and if it passes at the federal level, then I'm sure the state's just gonna automatically send it out of committee and follow suit. And then, this is gonna be one of those unfunded mandates that, even though it'll be mandated that it's allowed, but then they don't tell us how to fund the streets and roads when they tear them up because of the way there's a lot of information being passed that now it's already at 80,000 pounds and they push it to 91 to 96,000 pounds. So if you increase that to 88,000 pounds plus the 10% more, it's going to be well over 100,000 pounds that will be traveling. And not only will it wreak havoc on the highways and the local streets and everything where these trucks have to come, but imagine that kind of weight shifting forward in an accident. It's devastating just to think about it.
When you think about the number of state routes we have in our community,
Right.
you're coming straight
Right,
to downtown.
coming straight
That's
through
the potential.
downtown.
Right.
So
It's
it's something that we really need to press our
Well, and
local, all of our delegations about not passing.
beyond what it does to our roads is what it does to our buildings. And all you have to do is just sit in one and wait for these big trucks to come through, and it rattles. I mean, the
vibrates,
windows
that's right.
rattle, everything.
Well,
And, with historic buildings that certainly have age, this is going to do nothing but create cost and damage and possible, having to raise the building.
right, not to mention too, when we think about infrastructure, we never think about the overpasses and underpasses on the interstate and the local bridges that we have that are aged. And you just imagine yourself traveling on the interstate when the overpass above you collapses because you got 10 or 15 of those vehicles, those heavy trucks, sitting on top of your head. So it is really, I know that a lot of this is being pushed through by the port. And then we won't, because so many rail systems are being abandoned. And so the port, Savannah Port, is pushing this all ports to get it done because the way to transport now is over the highways. And because the railroad has been so non-functional in so many of our smaller cities, but they, just not thinking about how dangerous it is to those of us who travel as well. So I encourage you to sign that if you would.
Lastly, I'm sorry.
Hank, I sent Hank an email with some sample attachments for him to create one, and he's supposed to create one for us to sign off on.
And lastly, as I mentioned 2 weeks ago, we received the CDBG grant for Milledgeville Estates water system, and that check presentation will be in Augusta on October 25th. We need to register you by October 2nd if you would like to go. That will be at noon in Augusta on the 25th, so please let us know by the end of this week if you can, if you'd like to go, so we can get you registered.
Put me down as well, Mr. Griffin.
I'm writing these down because Mr. Chambers told me he was going to something last week, and I didn't write it down. So,
You got me a coffee.
I do.
I have a question. I want to go back. One of the things when you was talking about the schools doing the challenge of the roads with the primary school, do you have any kind of data or something to support that? Because I don't take that route. Do you have something that support that, or mayor or map? Do y'all go that way?
Or
Making the left turn going out the exits.
I do.
I mean,
I
right
do
turn.
too.
You do.
I do too when
It
I'm picking up
works.
my
It works.
grandkids.
It really
does.
will.
It works.
Mhm.
Because you remember
I
we
do
used to have
too.
to have a deputy standing in the
Right,
bush.
right. But see, I don't take that route because I went to academy.
It's working, and the traffic is more calmer now. People are taking their time.
Okay.
It's working.
And it appears to have made people automatically slow down going through there. And of course, we still will be installing red speed cameras on Blandy Road.
That's why I don't take Blandon Road.
The flashing lights are already there. We got the flashing lights up before the cameras. Now on 49, we got the cameras up. We got to come back and put the flashing lights up for what you all approved 2 weeks
Busy
ago.
area.
They're only giving warnings right now.
That's right.
Right.
That's
I
right.
still don't take
1st of October,
I go
you
all
go
the
get
way
a
down
ticket.
the road and turn around.
Lord have mercy.
How did you say, Mr. Griffith, on that?
On the 25th, noon. So obviously I'll be going, and I can carry actually 4 others with me if 3 of you sit across the back. So for those of you that end up being registered, I'll contact you about a departure time down the road. But so far I've got Ms. Shinholster and Mayor Copeland. So.
Mm-hmm.
You got the GMA district meeting in one line, so somebody.
On the 25th?
I'll catch that if you all want to.
No, I thought GMA was on another day.
That's our district meeting. So we can double check.
District 6 is on the 26th.
October
The
26th.
third Thursday is the district
Yeah,
meeting.
I put
It's the
everything on my
26th, so,
calendar. That's
yeah.
on the
It's on-
26th.
I'm looking at it. It is, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's the 26th.
Yeah.
And I will not be going to the district meeting. I'll be on the way to St. Simon's. So.
To that one.
Woof, woof, woof. Georgia, Florida game that
You
weekend.
notice I paused. All right, that's he did. Busted me right. That's all I have, Mayor, unless there are additional questions for me.
Is there any other questions for Mr. Griffith? Please, if you did not respond, they would like for council members to respond to the evaluation form that Linda, what's her name? Miss Linda? Natalie Linder from the Union Recorder sent out. So it was due tonight. If y'all can't answer those questions, it's just talking about the jobs, percentages, how you think they're doing with bringing jobs here, what have you. So if you can, just try to get it done tonight. All right, that's being all from the city manager. I'll move to old business, and I'll ask the clerk to read ordinance O-2309-12. That's the second reading of the ordinance to amend the personnel policies and procedures.
An ordinance to replace the progressive discipline chapter of the City of Milledgeville Personnel Policies and Procedures.
You have heard the ordinance. Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Properly motion and second. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Ms. Walden,
Aye.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Ms. Mapp,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster.
Aye.
So we'll move to new business, and I'll ask the clerk to read resolution R-2309-35 by caption.
A resolution pledging to practice and promote civility in the city of Milledgeville, Georgia.
You have heard the resolution. Is there a motion to adopt?
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Be kind.
Okay. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Ms. Walden,
Aye.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Ms. Mapp,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster.
Aye.
And let me make a note, Mayor, that is a resolution that all of you will be signing, so Bo will be getting in touch with you to sign those.
Alright, the resolution is adopted as official. I will ask the clerk to read resolution R-2309-36 by caption.
To authorize the third amendment to the tower attachment lease with new singular wireless PCS LLC to extend and modify the terms and conditions for the placement of equipment on the Meeks water tank located at 139 Robertson Mill Road.
All right, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Unless the clerk please call the roll.
Ms. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
The resolution is adopted. I'll ask the clerk to please read Resolution R-2309-37 by caption.
A resolution to authorize and accept a proposal from Simonton Engineering, LLC, to provide the engineering services associated with traffic channelization or channelizing on Blandy Road to accommodate Lakeview Primary School and Midway Hills Primary School traffic.
You have heard the resolution. Is there a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
Resolution is adopted. We don't have any appointments tonight, but we do have one alcohol license application that I will ask the clerk to present at this time.
This is for Parul Sunil Kumar Patel for Mahdev 2024 LLC for located at 913.
9/11.
Is it 9? Okay, yeah, 911. 911 South Wayne Street, Milledgeville, Georgia, and it is for beer and wine retail package to go.
Is it 9/13? Well,
It
it's-
is.
Okay, well, it was 9/11 and then changed to
I don't
9/13.
know. That could be.
I think
looks
it's
like
actually
9:13.
9:13.
9:13.
It is on the second page.
That's it.
Yeah, okay. So you have heard the application. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion? Is it approved? The motion is approved as a motion and second is approved as adopted. Are there any,
Need to vote.
I thought we just did. That was me. Okay.
Ms. Walden,
Aye.
That's it.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Ms. Mapp,
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster.
Aye.
Now the application is approved. All right, we need to go into closed session tonight to discuss legal and personnel matters. I need a motion, please, to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Walden,
Aye.
Mr. Chambers,
Aye.
Ms. Mapp, Reynolds,
Aye.
Dr. Lee,
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster.
Aye.
So at this time we will convene to go into closed session, pending personnel and legal matter, and then we'll reconvene after we're done in executive session.
Hold on, Walt.
Into our regular session, reconvening back to our regular session. Is there a motion to open up our session, regular session?
So move. We open back up.
Second.
All right, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Ms. Walden?
Here.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Dr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
Okay, we
Oh,
have.
here. I'm sorry.
Four ayes and two hears.
Same thing.
Still passes.
All right, we have returned to open session, and that concludes the items on the agenda. Is there are there any comments or announcements for council? And I left out one. The next meeting in November is that I'm gonna reconstruct the policy committee. Is November? October? Or
Yeah, possibly November.
November. So
I'll
the
be bringing
November,
two additional personnel policy
okay.
ordinances to y'all.
So we'll, in November, probably the first meeting in November, we'll reconvene and reconstruct our personnel policy committee.
Okay.
If there be no other comments from council, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Walden?
Aye.
Mr. Chambers?
Aye.
Ms. Mapp?
Aye.
Mr. Reynolds?
Aye.
Dr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Shinholster?
Aye.
All right, I'm gonna hit this thing for a good chance. Meeting adjourned.
There you go.